That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Well, hey, there you go. You're welcome.
That is awesome.
Ray, you want to take us to Hawkins?
Wait a minute.
What?
You forgot about Marty McFly.
No, I said my density. I was referring to
I got it.
Yeah, see,
I didn't leave you out, Lorraine.
Yeah, but Nathan dances with obscurity. He wants you to. He's like the Dennis Miller of podcasting. He wants you to pick up on the references, like super low key, deep cut. You know. So, all right. So
that's not that low key. It's okay though. It's a great McFly you got going on there, butthead.
You are. It's awesome. Oh my god, like 2 days ago, Back to the Future Part 2 was randomly on the TV, and I watched the whole thing because I caught it in about 20 minutes into the middle. I love that movie. All right, so before we get into our big main coverage, we have a little stopover in Hawkins to do, so let me formally bring us in. Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again time for us to venture off into the Upside Down. Hopefully not stay there too long, but more appropriately check in with all of our disparate quests and side hustles that are going on in the city of Hawkins. All of our characters in Stranger Things Season 3, specifically episodes 3 and 4, for coverage today on this week's #TV Guideposts. Welcome to it. Delightful. Okay, so I have to ask, we did this last time when we sort of inaugurated everybody in. I'm just going to kind of go around in a circle because I need to know kind of where everybody stands. Nathan and I don't have to repeat our sort of standing on Stranger Things, you know, that's been well covered on the podcast before. But Dave, Mr. McFly himself, I'm going to come to you first. What's your history? I know that you and I have discoursed before on Facebook about like your general sort of concerns around Netflix. So I can understand how Stranger Things might fit in a particular bubble for you, but I'm curious what your landscape is for this particular show. Do you like it? Do you not care for it? What's your thoughts?
It's a show that you would think I would really like, but I'm sad to say it's not my cup of tea. I'm glad Andy went first last. It was Andy, right? I'm glad he went first because he kind of paved the way for me. I feel like I might even be more down on the show than he is. But
interesting. Okay, cool. Well, we welcome all
fun times ahead.
We welcome all opinions here. If your internet goes out unexpectedly, don't be concerned. We'll bring you right back. Jackson, I'm coming to you next. What's your Stranger Things history? You like it? You love it? You hate it? You whatever?
I don't watch it. I saw the first couple episodes when it premiered a few years ago, and I wasn't that interested in it. I did not continue watching it, and only today did I venture into 2 random episodes from the middle of the 3rd season. So
like, I'm just going to watch these without.
I was rather confused. So
makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's about all I have on that.
All right. But at least you saw these 2 episodes as part of preparation for the podcast, and that's dedication.
I did watch those 2 episodes.
Proud of you.
Some thoughts.
Cool. Actually, I am okay. So this is gonna sound a bit patronizing. It is in no way patronizing. I actually am very curious. Oh, shut your mouth. So I am very curious to hear the thoughts of somebody who has literally only seen like a couple of episodes from the show, the way that we always used to engage TV shows before, you know, like in these days where you can get DVD box sets and everything streaming in bulk and you can binge everything. It's interesting. Back in the day, shows used to have to catch you with a random episode in the middle of season 4, just because you were scrolling past, and that's how they would try to hook you in. So I am genuinely curious when we get into it, what your thoughts are.
I didn't start watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer until the beginning of season 6.
Oh wow!
And then it became one of my favorite shows. So it's very possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stranger things have happened.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Wow. Okay, so Ian, I've been friends with you for a while, and I actually don't know the answer to this question. What's your Stranger Things feelings? Where are you generally with the show?
I'm at where I don't know if I like the show because I want to like Stranger Things after its first season, or if there's actually something there that's really good that I'm that is pulling me back, or if I'm
Gotcha.
or if it's like how I kept seeing Michael Bay Transformers movies, like maybe this one will be decent.
That's a bitter comp there.
I was about to say, like,
or like
gotta get
Star
it.
Wars movies. You know,
At
like,
one point, they will get this right.
Right. Hey, I'll try Rise of Skywalker. You know, so
it's the old
wrong pod.
It's the old Bill Hicks joke about the two the two moths who are on their way to the sun, going, "It's gonna be worth it." Okay, it's
Right.
gonna be worth it. So, wow.
Yeah, it's like that one.
Take you a second. Okay, so we are here talking about episodes 3 and 4 of season 3 of Stranger Things. For anybody who wants to know all of our myriad thoughts, check out the previous episodes on Stranger Things season 1 and 2. No need to go into all of those right now. But so episode 3 is called The Case of the Missing Lifeguard. It picks up plot-wise with some of the threat that we've been seeing where Billy's been sort of infected, if you want to call it that. They use the term later in the series, flayed, where he's kind of been possessed by the Mind Flayer, who was exclusively a part of the Upside Down. The gate opened, and it had kind of remained in Hawkins. A remnant of it had remained in Hawkins from some of the events of season 2. So I'll share sort of my initial thoughts on it. I really like these pair of episodes, but it was interesting to me. I mentioned sort of in setting up everything, lots of side quests, lots of this group's going to go over here and we're going to track them for about 10 minutes. This group over here is doing this, and we're going to track them. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the series in general, and its energy around the way it takes its time to layer certain things together that seem utterly disconnected. It seemed like they would have no substance connecting together. And then by the end of the season, whether you like the way they do this or not, they've kind of collided all of these different things together for a big, hopefully fun and energetic payoff. But I really like that. This pair of episodes, specifically focusing on 3 for right now, because we'll get 4 deserves its due, specifically when it's climax. But I really like this episode in general. I'm going to go first to Jackson to just see, like, okay, share some initial thoughts on, like, nothing but the episode to go on, and maybe a first couple of episodes of season 1. What were your thoughts on it? Like, yeah, just in general.
Well, I thought it was really interesting that at this point in the series, the group is kind of fractured, because you've got Dustin off doing his whole other thing.
Yeah.
That's Dustin, right?
Yep, you're right. Nope,
the curly haired character. Okay. I don't really know the characters' names that well. And
That's
then
fine.
you've got Will
You're
is
doing
starting
great
to
so far.
resent. So it's Will, Dustin, Mike, and then who's the other kid?
Lucas.
Lucas.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got Will, and he's really starting to resent Mike and Lucas for, like, having girlfriends or wanting girlfriends, because as they said, he's not interested in girls, and that's not their fault. So I don't know. I for one thing, I thought it was just interesting that it was a very sort of character-based episode. There wasn't a whole lot of like crazy, creepy things going on.
Yeah, I would.
Other than like 11, continually, like, is she going into the Upside Down? Is that where she is, in that black space?
That's negligible. So the show, one of the things that, despite my affection, that I would sort of ding the show for, is the show hasn't done a fantastic job of explaining the rules around that sort of liquid, black oozy space.
It just made me think of, what's it, the
Under the Skin.
Scarlett Johansson. Yeah.
No,
it was
absolutely.
a lot like that.
Well, if I can jump in there,
yeah,
I feel like it's pretty defined as kind of the mindscape. Like, it is not connected to the Upside Down. She's
got to, like, hear some sort of white noise or something.
Yeah.
In order to get
focus.
into it.
You got to focus when Jean Grey,
Okay.
Emma Frost, all these. You got to have, unless you're an Omega level, you got to be able to tune the stuff out.
Yeah, I get it. So, Dave, what were your thoughts on this episode? I know your feelings on the show as a whole are a bit negative. Is there, what's your take on kind of what the show is building at this point?
I think for me, like I really didn't like season 2, and season 3 is a step up in my mind. I think the scope of it, that you can feel it heading in that direction already. I am not a big fan of 3 specific characters, and I might be unpopular for saying this, but I'm not a fan of Dustin. I'm not a fan of Nancy. I'm not a fan of Eleven. So those 3 characters I really struggle to connect with. But the character that I really actually connected with in this season so far, and I think she gets even more of a role in episode 3, is the one who's leading the show at the mall there.
Robin.
Yep.
Robin.
Oh, she's super cool.
Yes.
I liked her.
I like her a lot. Yeah. And so I like that. Episode 3 for me, that was the highlight, is that she's kind of like really stepping into her role, and we're getting to see a little bit more of her.
No, I definitely affirm all of that. Robin is a highlight of this season in general, and she's a bit of a scene stealer. Maya Hawke, Ethan Hawke's daughter, is obviously very charismatic as a performer.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, that's Ethan
I thought
Hawke's
she
daughter.
looked familiar.
And
I'm
Uma.
just seeing,
I'm
just seeing those
and
two
Uma.
people.
Yes, and Uma. I was connecting the Hawk name. I'm not trying to shortchange the beloved Uma Thurman. Okay, like wow, you're coming at me with your aviators.
It's just patriarchy. What?
But no, she really is a very big scene stealer, and I love the scene where she cracks the code. Like her, just the energy around her, running into the center of the mall, putting together all of the different parts of the tape that they've been able to translate. I agree with you. That's a very energizing moment. Ian, how did you feel about this episode 3?
I guess the character I most was with was Will, because like when I see Mike just like grossly making out, I'm like, just play D&D is way more interesting than girls. Like this, which is also, to bring it back to my Transformers riff earlier, what I found so implausible more than any other single thing was the fact that someone can save the world with giant robots, but then is more preoccupied with girls afterwards. Like, I gotta be done saving the world because I like this girl. Like, that's stupid. You
my work here is done.
I want Winston Zedmore to come in, like, when giant robots offer you the chance to save the world, you say yes.
Yeah, we are mixing a lot right there. I love it.
It's an 80s party. I mean, that's what we're supposed
all
to do.
The 80s, all the time.
I remember taking specific note the scene where, because of its presence, particularly in season 1, when Will destroys Castle Byers, I had an emotional reaction to that. That really
I did too, and I don't watch the show. That's how good that moment was.
Yeah, I mean, the actor just sells the crap out of it. It's you really feel the buildup of how desperate Will has been to connect with his friends, and he is admittedly the youngest of the group. But to feel that sense of, I don't have my place anymore. This was what I like. Your heart just breaks for him, looking back at the photographs, the things that he once held with such fondness, and calling them stupid. I think we've all had that reaction where we feel like the glee or the joy that we once enjoyed about a thing has been somehow polluted, or that it's been lost. And so we feel this confrontational energy around, like, we kind of despise who we used to be. And I agree that moment is incredibly powerful.
They do a great job of editing into that scenes from season 1 of them playing D&D. And one of the strengths of this show is, because the cast is the age it was when it started and is now and will be, you've got live documentation of that growth of them physically, and it's very gutting when it cuts back to these little children doing the thing they love. So no, that's a really powerful scene.
Nathan, before I get your thoughts, I want to pivot back to just one quick thing that David said about like not connecting with the character of Nancy. I just kind of want to echo a little bit of that. Like, I struggle a lot with Nancy and Jonathan, to be honest, that I wrestle with connecting to their plot line, and the ire that she receives at the hands of her boss and her, that whole team of people who just put down her ideas, put down it. That is one of the handful of elements that, while it is sadly very believable, particularly for the time and particularly for her station, it feels a bit forced in this moment. Like, she is absolutely bringing everything to the table. And it is true that in the real world, she would have been probably categorically dismissed. But there was something about it that just didn't quite gel with me the way that I wanted it to. Maybe it was that it hadn't quite elevated to the status where she had any real concrete data. It was all just speculation. I get a little bit agitated with, I think her character is a bit underdeveloped in general, because it is hard to know, asides just the general feeling of wanting to be respected and valued, which is a worthy thing. It's difficult to put a handle on what she wants as a character. I don't think she's as well defined as she could be, or as other characters are. So I just wanted to echo a little bit of that before we move on.
You, sir.
Well, I just want to bounce off that quick, because who really, really arrived as someone like worth caring about, worth investing in, vis-a-vis Nancy? Steve is
come on,
he is the best.
He is the best. He is the best. He's simply the best.
Which one is Steve?
He's the best around.
Steve's Dustin's friend, also works at Scoops Ahoy with Robin.
Okay.
Every morning I wake up and I cry a bit because there's not a Steve for me to see that day.
Or that you're not Steve.
I know I'm not Steve.
No. I'm affirming that, brother. But I don't know. Few characters in the show writ large are as fully realized as Steve and as Harper, but I actually am going to go to Team Nancy for this season at least. I do like the arc, and I said this last week with Asia and Andy is I do think in general this season does right by its characters. Now, there's only so many Joe Keerys in the world, that's a find. There's only so many David Harbors in the world. That's a find. So, those are instances of perfect casting meeting excellent character. But I like what they do with Nancy. To me, I know what you're saying, but I mean, I think I really like the connection that she and the mom make later in the season. I don't know. I feel like it's a well realized arc, whether it's ultimately a necessity. I'll put it this way. It's not an unnecessary puzzle piece, and that's hard to do with a show with a cast this big. To be able to make all the pieces come together at a certain point is challenging. It's why you have in shows past your Kim Bowers and whatnot. It's like you lose track of how to make this character relevant to the overall piece. Anyway.
Well, and she and Jonathan lead up in this episode to one of this season's first major "that ain't right" moments, and that's the old lady digging into fertilizer. That is disgusting.
Sometimes you're just hungry.
Yeah.
So tops the maggots.
So moving into episode 4, which I think for me is the first, I really enjoy this season as a whole. I really enjoyed as I mentioned last episode, I enjoyed the nostalgia of, seeing everybody at the mall in episode 2. That was fun. But episode 4 gave me my first sort of flavor of what I think the show does really successfully writ large, which is just bring together this collection of supernatural, paranormal kind of things with the kids combating it in a real way. I think episode 4 has a fantastic climactic scene. It's called the sauna test. They start right out the gate with the another "that ain't right" moment. The face sucker mind flaying the parents.
Oh, that was gnarly.
Yeah, it's just.
So I gotta throw in. I was watching this with my kids because it's one of the few things we cover that I can. And one of my kids was sitting next to me, and in the middle of that scene, I took my hand, and it was in the dark, and I stuck it to her face, and I was like,
No.
She freaked out. It was great.
Oh, well, of course she freaked out. That's not right.
Fun.
That ain't right.
It was fun, though. It's nice to be able to share those moments with you.
Sure, of course. Oh, jeez. Ian, I'm going to come to you first this time around. What'd you think of episode 4? Any highlights? Any particular moments stand out to you that you liked? If your notes were that specific.
I just liked Max's kind of taking center stage insofar as having to do the sauna test with. Here's my thing. I needed a little bit more because I already don't like Billy. So,
sure, right.
You know, like, oh no, he's possessed. You know, like, what if he dies? You know, and then I'm like, okay, it's Saturday, then we'll do something else. Like, I don't play D&D. Like, that guy sucks. So
yeah,
but I believe that Max cares.
Yeah. Well, and
there you go.
Yeah, and I think again to echo and affirm, Billy was just a ranked tool in season 2. Like he was completely.
He's the manager of a tool department.
He got
from a
Harper
store
Freight,
called Ranked Tools R Us.
What we do, we just produce ranked tools. That's all we do.
And then you rank them.
And they're all the worst. They're all just get like the bottom.
This one's also number 300.
But I do feel like, and it's not present in this episode, so maybe a tease for later. I feel like this season may be a bit forced, but I feel like this season does some work in its latter half to kind of bring a little bit around on Billy. But I agree with you. I think especially where we are in the show, and especially with episode 4, he's just the surrogate villain, and it barely matters that he's the one that is chosen, you know, to be that way. But so Dave, I'm gonna come to you next. What of this episode, good, bad, indifferent, or ugly, would you say?
So I wrote notes down, and I unfortunately didn't separate the episodes, but I will echo. I really did resonate with the scene with Will that we already discussed.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I also really liked, as you already talked about too, the ending of, well, it would be episode 4.
Yeah.
With, because I think that's where the stakes really feel like they've really been raised.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which episode it's in, but which one do we get the dad bod from Harper?
Oh, that's 3. That's 3.
That's 3.
Good old good old dad bod from Harper. Though.
There you go.
It's awesome, man. I was thinking that when I was like, man, he's so rocking the dad bod. This was obviously pre-Hellboy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I need to be cast in Hellboy and shape up.
I felt like that needed a shout out anyway.
Oh no, agreed and affirmed. So Jackson, our resident. Oh no, you want to go ahead? No. No, I'm our
just
guest
excited.
can wait. Why don't you go ahead?
No, they can't. Jackson, you're so cool over there. What are you feeling?
Well, for one thing, I want to see Nathan play Hellboy now.
Okay, you know, if it gets me in shape, sure.
The win.
But okay, so this episode was definitely more of what I was expecting from the show, as opposed to the third, which was a lot more character driven. And I don't know, it was fine, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know how it connects, and I probably never will unless I go back and watch the whole show.
It's all good.
I mean,
just pretend it's Buffy.
So, but I was really surprised when Loki showed up. I thought that was a really bold crossover.
Yeah, you were watching Loki on Disney Plus, and it was not Stranger
fell
Things
asleep.
episode 4.
Oh, okay. I fell asleep and somehow changed which streaming service I was.
Exactly. That's how they get you these days. So listeners aren't overly concerned. We polled all the 80s party guests to find out who the real Stranger Things fans were and saved them till the final one. So it's all good. It's all good. We're getting the mix. But it works. It works. I love it. I think this 4th episode, partly I'm just excited because, I mean, a couple of you have alluded to this, but I'll say it with passion. This has one of the best set pieces in the whole series is the sauna test. I mean, it is exciting.
That was good. I enjoyed watching
you had your turn, Jackson. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm in party mode. Okay. But yes, extremely exciting scene. lots of character stuff happening. To, I think it was Ian who said this. Yes, Billy, who is the manager and CEO of ranktool.com in season 2, I'll give it to the show. They make me give a damn ultimately about that character. And that is a no small feat to have done that from what is just a 2-dimensional Waluigi impersonation in the second season.
Wow.
to full on Bowser in this one. But broader point being, the sauna test is fantastic. It is an excellently choreographed scene that has real drama to it, real action to it, and real concern for your characters. I mean, it's really well done. And I think episode 4 delivers, Maya Hawke has her praises have been sung, but we cannot undervalue how great an inclusion to the cast is without Erica, Lucas's sister. I mean, she
can't spell America without Erica.
Oh, yeah. And that is one of the best lines in the show. Goodness gracious. She's hysterical. They give her some great scripting. She delivers fantastically. I mean, she's great.
Yeah, Dave had mentioned about the raising the stakes. Like, I think when Billy, possessed of the mind flayer, grabs Elle and is choking her up, and she to this point is really the only one that stood a chance of actually hurting anybody, and then she's compromised at that moment to the degree that even we didn't watch. It's not a discussion about the next episode, but like she's hurt. Like they take a moment of time to register that like she's been injured because of that. And so like talking about raising the stakes and raising the threat level, I do think they do so in a really substantive way. Mike stepping in and then, like cold cocking him to try to just create a diversion. That whole sequence is just, it's really quite affecting and quite thrilling. And I think that might be one of my favorite things about this season is that the threat itself takes longer than any previous season to really understand what it's doing. But along the way, they do a really good job of making you genuinely afraid. Like, oh man, this is bigger than they've ever had to try to overcome before. And maybe they don't make it out of it this time. I think that was pretty effective. Before we completely leave the episode, I have to show, particularly from episode 4, a little bit of love for the scene when Harper shuts the door to the mayor's office, locks it, knowing things are about to go down, and then has that whole exchange with the mayor. That was Cary Elwes. We sung his praises last week, but he's a great addition to this cast. And I
always happy when he shows up. Yeah,
he's wonderful. And that whole scene that they have, I think, is just really, really strong. There's obviously some great stuff that builds throughout the season with Hopper and his little adventures with Joyce, but I really loved that scene.
The minute Dread Pirate Roberts is like, don't give me that dead daughter crap because I just don't care. You look around, you're like, oh my God, this guy's about to get it. I mean, it is intense and it delivers. Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
He's signing up. Where do I sign to? How many do I get?
That's awesome. Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wind us down unless anybody has any strong objections. We all good? Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been another stopover in Hawkins. No AV club, but we did visit a sauna, which was uncomfortable for all of us. And we did visit the mayor's office, which was probably even more so. But we're very grateful to our friends for coming by and sharing their thoughts on episodes 3 and 4 of Stranger Things. Join us next week when we will be covering episodes 5 and 6 right here on #TV Guideposts.